travel accommodations provided by Midwest Airlines, the official airline for Focus on Diversity.
Focus on Diversity with Troy Shaw.
Hello, my name is Troy Shaw, your host for Focus on Diversity. Let's go directly into introducing our guest. First, we have Timothy Baldwin. He is a local attorney right here in southeastern Wisconsin. Our next guest is Christopher Carter. He is the president and CEO of CCI. And our good friend, Robert Miranda. He is the editor of the Milwaukee Spanish Journal. Gentlemen, a lot of stuff to talk about it. Let's talk about it right now. Temperatures rise, so does violence. As the temperature in Milwaukee rises, it seems that the violence does as well. The recent rash of shootings that have left an innocent child dead and dozens others wounded would send a wake-up call to the community. It is time for Milwaukee Police Department, as well as residents, to take action and take back their communities. Gentlemen, we're talking about a huge problem all over the country, but specifically here in southeastern Wisconsin and Milwaukee, there is a problem with violence. Robert, there's a summer initiatives program. What do you think about it?
Well, I think that in its face value, the summer initiative program to go after the violence in our streets is all well and should continue. What I have problems with is this is just always a one-prong action. Okay, it's always targeting violence. It's always targeting violence in the streets, but there isn't other ideas, for example, in building up the economics of the streets. Okay. What can be done to stabilize these neighborhoods that are experiencing this violence? Mm-hmm. Rather than flooding the streets with police, why aren't we working on initiatives, having the big economics initiatives that would stabilize the economy of Little Beirut and Milwaukee? Okay. Where are those major initiatives, and why aren't we setting up task force that brings the business community into these neighborhoods and forces them to see what is going on in these areas of poverty and what initiatives can be done to bring up businesses, to get people to become entrepreneurs, to set up neighborhoods that become stable economically so that we don't just rely on the police to stem violence. We now have business people working in the neighborhoods who own businesses also working to stem the violence.
Well said. Can I get some on that? Boom, because I'm coming right over here to Chris. Look, $2 million on this initiative for what could quite possibly be deemed as a police state. What do you think about that, Chris?
It is a police state because the communities are not getting involved with the violence. Community members need to grow a set of cojones, get out there and try to take the guns away from the riffraff that is out there.
Stop
hiding behind your doors and start doing like they've done in other areas of this community. And unfortunately now it's starting to migrate to other areas. You see what certain communities have did. Cherry Hill?
Yeah, I believe it may be Cherry Hill.
They cleaned up their area. Other areas have cleaned up because the community themselves pulled themselves up by the bootstraps and said, we will not take this violence, and started to push the riffraff out of those areas and build up their businesses.
Timothy, we're talking about,
with all due respect, that's the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard.
Please explain.
I've not seen Mequon pull themselves up by the bootstraps or Brookfield
but they don't have the same kind of crime.
Or River Hills and go out in the streets and gather up guns. No, they are sitting in their homes enjoying the lifestyle that they are entitled to as Americans. And the problem that we have is not that the community in which this violence is occurring, the members are required to go out and wrestle down the criminals and take guns from their hands. That is not their responsibility. They have the right to pursue happiness in this country. And the problem is, it's not we need more police. I think for all of those that are calling on police, calling on National Guards, they do not understand or realize what they were asking for. It is destroying the freedom of this country and people who are claiming themselves to be Americans, giving up their civil liberties to have cameras, surveillance cameras posted in our community so that the police can survey what is going on. What we need is economic development in those communities so that there's not a sense of desperation. We need home ownerships. We need to get rid of the dirt-filled lawns that are out there, the broken glass.
And I would agree with you wholeheartedly, Timothy. And that's transitioning into our very next subject. 4-year-old Jasmine Owens was just recently murdered by a drive-by shooting by some people in the community. People may say that Chris has a definite point in that regard because, of course, it seems like the people currently aren't taking care of business over there and keeping their streets safe. Maybe, and you said it earlier as well, maybe we may need to bring in the National Guard and have them guard us. What do you think about that, Robert?
Yeah, right. The National Guard. Yeah, if we could pull them out of Iraq.
Oh my God.
No, as I said it earlier, if you have more people owning their homes, if you had initiatives where rather than spend $2 million to put more police on the streets, you take that $2 million and put it in programs that would give people an opportunity to create businesses, to buy their own homes in those neighborhoods. You start seeing some ownership of the streets begin because now people have a stake in what happens in that neighborhood.
Well, yeah.
And the idea to put National Guard in these neighborhoods is a defeatist idea.
I would agree. I would agree.
It is out of control. It is whacked, and it destroys every principle of a democracy, just like Tim was saying, every principle of a democracy if this country decided to do something like that to get rid of crime in our neighborhoods.
I got to give the last word over to Chris in this regard because we're going to be going to the break really soon. Alderman Bob Donovan's making this kind of request. I think it's ludicrous.
You know, we don't need more police. We do not need the National Guard. We were joking about that earlier.
Okay, so you weren't serious.
No,
okay.
Because I did read the article of how they are going to. No. My joke was in reference to the article I read the other day that they are going to put more police force into these neighborhoods that are having high crime rates. And I thought earlier, okay, just let's throw the National Guard in there. But we don't. They're in Iraq policing over there. It's unfortunate the young girl was injured or was killed. I feel really sorry for the person once they find him or her who did shoot her, because if it's the community that finds him first or her first, I don't think there's going to be a trial. And maybe that is what needs to happen, is there needs to be a little bit more substance with the community. Not saying that they should go out and just do old vigilante justice. But you know what? There is a certain piece, and that's the community taking a step forward and saying, you know what? We are defending our turf. This is our area of Milwaukee, and maybe it is a little bit of them taking that back, and that could be a good start.
All right, when we come back from the break, we're going to continue on with this discussion specifically about the firing of Jessica McBride off of WTMJ radio for her absolutely ridiculous comical parody on the death of this 4-year-old girl. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Do you know where you are? Mr. Ryan? Mr. Ryan? Mr. Ryan, do you know where you are?
He could be anywhere, in any corner of the world, where patients trust medical professionals brave enough to hold a life in their hands without hesitation, where there are people who take what is known scientifically and challenge themselves to go beyond. People who are not just practicing medicine, they are creating it.
Mr. Ryan? Mr. Ryan? Mr. Ryan? Do you know where you are?
He could be anywhere. He just happens to be here.